Hello everyone, I'm going to review the Tiger 1 Gruppe Fehrmann, April 1945, Northern Germany. This is for Armorama and Kitmaker Network. From what I know, and this will be my quick explanation of what a Fehrmann Tiger is. It's an early, judging by the S-mine equipment, a later early, and you've got the turret side tracks, that were, let's say, either knocked out or disabled in some way. I don't know where, but one would assume Eastern Front. They end up back in Germany in like a repair depot at some point, very late war, April 45 perhaps. They are retrofitted with, at the time, what their current, late wheels, late tracks, and then any repairs that needed to be done. Let's say, I've seen one with a Zimmerit covered mantlet. I've also seen them with partially Zimmerit covered turrets. So I think just whatever parts needed to be replaced or cobbled together. So there could have been a late that was knocked out, but they salvaged one part of it. But essentially all it was knocked out earlies that were retrofitted with parts and then sent out and very quickly knocked out. So it's been recently, there was a kit made by Academy, there was one made by Cyber Hobby a long time ago. This would also be Rye Field's third Tiger kit. Now we actually have a little bit of a lineage going. We had 5001, which was the DAC, and then we had 5003, which was the 503 with interior that I just reviewed. This would be 5005, and we'll see how different it is, but it looks like it's just going to be essentially the exterior parts of the 503 kit with some late wheels and late tracks thrown in, because even the 503 turret bit was in there. I saw when I looked through it quickly. Instructions again, full color booklet. The marking options are more plausible than their 503 ones were. According to this, like F01 and F13 had late wheels and F02 had early wheels. I'll have to check that, but I don't see why they would get that wrong. This is actually quite cool. For F13, they're telling you where Zimmerit should go. So apparently it had quite a lot of Zim, like a standard late would. F01, on the other hand, only had Zimmerit on the turret, apparently, so they're telling you only to put it there. Also, you have a different part for the track holder here, I think. Yeah, this has a 503 one, which I don't think is correct. Then F02 apparently had Zim only on the lower hull, and then it again has the 503 front track holders. Step 1 looks the same as it has in every Rye Field kit thus far. Same two turret halves, the same kind of barrel assembly, very Dragon-esque, same kind of mantlet stuff. Loader's hatch, we have the option of the cover or not on the ventilator. Again, the same turret pieces, so it'll have the capability of taking their interior pieces, but does not come with them. Cupola would be the same as we've seen already. This assembly does build up quite nicely, although I've been replacing part A6 with Dragon, or perhaps you could trim the bottom to make it fit slightly better, but if you don't, at least in my experience, the hatch seems to open funny. The bottom turret ring, escape hatch. Now we're finally using their standard turret bin. This has been in every kit I've gotten from them, but I've never used it for one of theirs. I used it on a Dragon build I did though. This is different in that we're putting on the spare track hangers. Now I'll notice that it has the option for 3 on one side, which is very, very rare. Only the very first few Tigers had 3 on this side and then 5 on this side, and it appears that the sprue itself holds it to the right angle that it would need to go on here, and the right spacing, which is very important. When I did Cyber Hobby one and manually put these on, this one was too far forward, and it bugs me every time I look at it, so this could be very well done. They haven't done this yet with spare tracks. Then starting lower hull, again, remove this tab if you want to make the torsion bars workable. I'm pretty sure I'm not going to on this one. That kind of gave me a hard time last time. Same torsion bars and a little plate as on the previous kits. They're telling you to be very careful of the arrangement of the exhausts. The same workable final drive housing and sprockets that we've been seeing. Those are actually pretty nice. Their sprockets do feel a little thick. I'm not sure how they work with other companies' tracks. So they're giving us an either or here, which is fun, which is late wheels or early wheels, which oddly enough no Tiger kit I've ever had has ever come with both wheels before, and it's kind of a huge deal. Rear plate, same as we've been seeing. Just a couple of things, the adapter plate and the cover for that. Nothing different, and it's all pretty okay. The only problem I have with this is that you have these bars instead of the 2 spots where the fibers go. It's not right. So that's an awfully big diagram for just this stuff, but these are the little spacer type things to make the wheels workable, toolbox, you know, the towing thing, and these covers for the exhaust. And then if you're doing the other wheels, you need more little rubbery things. So here we have the jack going together and going on, and the side plates, rubber on the wheels if you're using those wheels. Keep in mind also that this one looks like it has both types of idlers, which is cool. I've actually never had a kit that had both types of idlers with it either. Spots to drill out, there are many, and then the assembly of the engine cover itself and the tools, having you remove, by the look of it, some of the clasps for the tools. Don't care for that. Either give me ones that have them or don't. That's my personal preference anyway. And just putting tools and stuff on the upper deck, jack block, bolt cutters, so on. All very, very similar to what we've seen in their other 2 kits, which is pretty good. The early shovel doesn't look like this one has. No, this guy here, he looks pretty bad. But that's the only tool that really stands out to me as sort of not so good. Hatches are workable and pretty cool, but they usually don't open correctly on the driver's side because of the hammer that's there. Alright, so our Photoetch option for the holders for the tow cables, and then our headlights go on. These are of the early type, so 2 on the corners. There's an option for PE for the tow cable stuff here. There's the top view of the arrangement. That's always pretty helpful, actually. Front plates, actually I don't really like the way that their driver's visor goes on. Looks like there's no interior bow MG, and then they're finally having us drill holes in the plate to put the shovel on. And here they're pointing out to do the tracks. These are model casting clone. I believe it's SK2 would be the type that they're a clone of. Final assembly, turret goes onto upper deck, and then these 2 plates go down, glacis plate goes on, and tracks go on. Also though, they're having you put S-mine mounts here, which I don't know if that's correct. I may have read something in the last few days about how that's not good, so I think you either want the S-mines themselves on or you don't want these on at all. I will check with tiger1.info and make sure of that though. First sprue is B sprue, which has been in, I believe, all of their kits. Upper deck, rear plate, front plate, the hatches, the vision thing, shovel with the clasps, all kinds of other stuff. The initial version of the fivals and the hoses. Molding seems good still. I mean, it's just as good as it has been previously. This shovel was one of the things I really didn't like, and it still looks kind of muddy. There's just not enough detail there. The clasps still look okay. You know, everything seems, it's very sharp, but it can be a little muted in detail in places. I don't like the way those fibers are cut in halves, but they do have PE to go on top of them usually, so that makes it kind of alright. Although I didn't see that in the kit. This is a sprue. This has also been in every version of their kit so far. Turret halves, so you got your initial 2 and with your early with the escape hatch. Turret roof of the early variety only, because there's your ventilator thing. Interior mantlet stuff, 3 different mantlets. Lower turret ring, turret basket. The mantlets are like sort of an early standard one, a Tiger P one, and then a reinforced early. All binocular sight. There's your gun sleeve, and then this is looking a little, the mold seam looks pretty strong on here. I don't know if it's picking up. There it was, right there. Detail's pretty good on the roof. Detail, again, pretty good. Ejector pin marks in general are where they won't be seen. Grab handles look good enough. Alright, so this is F sprue. This is only in the 503 with interior kit as well as this one. Later sprockets, front plate, a slightly later arrangement of track change cable, some plastic conduit that will inevitably break, your exhaust covers, the intakes themselves, the hull extensions, later version of the 5.0s, your mud flaps, side plates, still one-piece molded side fenders. I'll have to see if these are built any better. They were a little bit off in the last one. The thing about these side fenders is that they weren't universal. Like, they should be kind of just 4 pieces where like the little indents here would be identical and you can kind of flop them around. Honestly, I don't think I can tell by just looking at it like this, so I'll actually have to build it, get back to you. Here's another later mantlet. These are the later type of rear guards, so you would have to cut that other square part out of here if you wanted them to be earlier. These plates, as usual, seem okay. I haven't really had any problem with them. Cable looks pretty okay. Again, Rye Field does the best version of the bottom of these mud flaps. That is exactly how that should look. Very cool. But I feel like these are a little thick. Especially, like, look at that. You just kind of see. Then you have 2 of this sprue, which is primarily suspension components. Large idler wheel with the separate rubbers, early and later sprockets, tons of little bits, including the smoke launchers, which we'll check in a second, and all the workable components for the wheel system. And those still look nice. There's your smoke launchers that have stuff in them, and here is the ones that don't, and they still look too thick to me. I don't think they've changed this, and I don't think they will actually. No, that's a little too thick. Other parts on here though, these look good. This all looks great. Wing nuts look good. Cast texture very subtle on these covers for the exhaust. Sprockets look pretty good. You won't necessarily need to use these because you have some on the other wheel sprues, and then there's your final drive housing and your swing arms connected to the torsion bars. They're still using this little indentation as the glue spot. Do not like that. Just not enough. Very cool idler arm though. It's the most accurate one I've seen actually. Then we have our O sprue, which is oddly the 503 specific sprue, which I thought would have been only in that last kit they put out, which is strange. So you've got a few tools here, some without clasps, and you've got a bunch of antennas, which I love, and a bunch of jerry cans, the 503 specific turret bin, and the large 503 toolboxes from the rear of the tank. There's that 503 box. I know that a lot of people kept saying these should be outer facing welds, and that's probably true. The antennas look good. Can never have enough styrene antennas. Jerry cans look pretty good. They have some writing on them. This is some of that crazy Rye Field connecting sprue parts so that they don't break, and I suppose if it works that's fine. You do have an MG34 here. Here's the rear part, and then here's the top part, but that's not an interior one. It's like a, you have to mount that on the somewhere else, so it's got a bipod and everything. Jack brackets, tools look okay. This is that shovel, but better. Although the clasp might be facing the other way, I'm not sure, but these tools are okay. I'm not sure what you would do with these boxes, but they look nice. And as I pointed out to a friend I was talking to, it looks like you could build a 503 Tiger exactly the same as their other kit, just without the interior, by buying this one. Then we have 2 of this sprue. This is C-sprue, which has been in every kit that they've put out so far. These are just early wheels. Detail's very good, but the surface is super smooth and shiny. We then have two of this sprue. This sprue we haven't seen before. We have our late idler, half of a late sprocket, and our late wheels. So these look pretty good. Dragon has done it, whereas this is a separate piece. I'm not sure why they haven't. Probably something to do with the workable arrangement of kind of how things go together. Maybe not. I'm just assuming things. They do look nice. And then here's our small idler. This is actually a very hard piece to find spares of. Any kit I've had and it uses it, so I don't have any spares of this thing. There's that sprocket. Detail's very pronounced, looks really nice. So overall, this is the first new thing I've seen in this kit. This is our hull tub. Again, it's the same one we've been using, so it has all the interior mounting information if you choose to put an interior in here. Now, there are differences between initial and early and late interiors. They're subtle and I don't know them, so you'd have to consult someone or something that could tell you that. Detail on here seems good, as it always has. Double scalloping here. The plate separation here, the bump stops are very well pronounced. And then this return plate here is a separate piece. This is a weird way to do this, but it seems to work for them. So these hull tubs are very nice. Clear parts, as in their previous kits, this is the same early one. I've noticed that their clear parts are just not as hardy as their other parts are, like as you can see there. All the periscopes you would need for the whole tank and the vision block. Our tracks, again, are composed like this. So we have 4 sprues and a box. The sprues contain nothing but pins, a jig, and guide horns. So you cut these off and you put them into 4 tracks at a time, and then you trim here after they are together, and then there's your guide horns, which you glue on. At least as I do it, I would do 5 tracks at a time, and then glue in the horns for like the left side and then the right side of those 5, and then eventually put each run of 5 tracks together with other runs of 5 tracks in it. It can get pretty time consuming. There's your jig. In the box we have a bunch of strips. On each strip we have 12 tracks. Each track the detail is pretty good on. These do have cleats, so these are late. So these are different than in the other kits. Now you only have 2 attachment points per these lengths, but 4 on these. These are easy enough to clean up, and so is that. This one can be a bit hard because you have this little raised circle piece here. No ejector pin marks though, and then there's where your guide horns go in once they're glued together. There's a little close-up of the bump stop. But this is the same hull tub that we've been getting from them. The Photoetch in the kit is actually quite a bit limited compared to what we've seen from them previously. In the interior kit you had 3 large sheets, and even in the DAC one you had a larger one. So this, if you notice, does not have the Photoetch top pieces for the DAC or initial type fibers, which means that if you use their fibers, you're going to be dealing with that nasty seam if you use that version. The later fibers of theirs have a separate plastic piece, so they wouldn't look as bad. So here you've got your etch grills and not much else really. A couple of pieces for mounting the tools, which is good. Not, you know, PE clasps is good. It's a good thickness, soft enough, but not too soft. Definitely not too hard. Adequate, in my opinion, for a Tiger kit. We also have these, which I assume are Zimmerit tools. I didn't see reference to them, but that's what they look like in another kit that I've seen, so I think these are just tools for making Zimmerit. You've got kind of this serrated edge down here and here and here, and that's cool, but I don't know what kind of results you would get, but it's nice for them to include it. Now the decals are for F01, 02, 03, 04, 05, and then a red version of F01, and then F13, and this one's broken up, which I assume has something to do with some reference picture. 8 Balkenkreuz. Pretty simple. Since I do these build reviews, I actually have not decaled one of their kits with their own decals. That's because I always take it to the construction stage and then do a write-up and some videos, and then I kind of just put it on a shelf for a later time. These seem alright. This, you know, it seems thin. Not like Tamiya thick, but I can't really tell. But it's a nice assortment if you're going to build a Fehrmann, that they give you most of the vehicles that we know of, if not all. Finally, we have this braided copper for cable. This is my favorite thing Rye Field does. This stuff is amazing and I love it, and it's great. It's a fantastic thing that they do. I think there's only enough in here for the tow cables, though, not for the track change cable. So, my initial opinion upon looking in the box was the same as before I really looked through it. They're pulling back on their PE a little, which is okay with people like me, because there's still grills there. But it does prevent you from using certain earlier parts that needed PE to go with them. And essentially, this is their same kit from the 503 kit with light wheels and light tracks, and which is kind of the same kit as their DAC one. They add a sprue or two where they need to. I don't know the price that they're aiming for with this, and that can make a huge difference. If it's as cheap as the DAC one, this would be better than the DAC one because it has the correct length barrel, which they corrected after the DAC kit, and the ability to make, well, not a mid because you don't have a late cupola, but the ability to at least make an early or a Fehrmann one is cool because you can totally just backdate it and make any early Tiger you want. Because you've got both types of fivals, early wheels, so anything from like Tiger 131, like the later initial stuff, post-initial, whatever, until the very last earlies. It looks like you could, I might be wrong, I'd have to look more closely, but it looks like there's a lot of options in here where you could get away with buying this instead of their interior kit, which is pretty expensive, to build a early Tiger with these fancy model casting style tracks and all that. These are a lot of work though, and that puts off a lot of people. But it looks pretty good. But it doesn't look a whole lot different than their previous kits either, and again, as a lot of people point out, I don't know that another Fehrmann was necessarily needed, but the fact that they have both wheels in this one makes it more impressive than other Fehrmanns. And their detail's pretty good. So let's see, I'll build it up, same way we have been. We'll see what she's made out of.